Hello. Welcome everyone to today's fantastic International Women's Days panel with Distributed Republic. So really excited to be able to have you here. We have the highest amount of subscribers that we've ever had to one of our webcasts before, which is 200 people. So thank you all for coming to join. And we're definitely not going to disappoint with the panel that we have here because it's absolutely fantastic. So for those who haven't joined us before, Distributed Republic is a webcast where we explore the impact of decentralization, Web3, the Metaverse, and AI on our social, economic, and political systems. Our mission is to ensure that communities that can benefit the most from the inception of new technologies, such as what we're talking about today, have access to resources, education, and expertise to thrive in a digital world. And this is where it's really important, particularly when we look at our topic for today, which is using technology to drive social change, to be able to make sure that we're getting the information out there and that information is not being gatekept. So we have this amazing panel of female entrepreneurs who work within the STEM space in all sorts of different dynamic areas from across the globe, which is absolutely fantastic. They're going to be sharing their insights on the topic. I'm going to do my best to just shut up and listen. But it's really nice to be able to have them all here. I'm going to get them to do an introduction in a second. But today's format is the first time we've done a panel format, which is very cool. So what we're going to do is ask the questions. Our guests are going to come in and give their insights on the particular areas. We always say that we do our best to minimize jargon within these webcasts and to keep our answers, relatively short so they're understandable for people. However, if you are struggling at all, there is terminology guides that you can find at stan.store/Jamie Beekoff Brett. And we've got one for the metaverse. We've got one for AI. So if you are hearing words and you're like, what on earth does that mean? You wouldn't be the only one. Trust us. It's probably not. There's the other 4 panelists in the room that are also going, what on earth does that mean? So do check it out. You'll hopefully be able to answer it. Or once again, put your comments in the questions. Put your questions in the comments, I should say, other way around. So if you want, we can see all of your comments come through. Let us know where you are, where you're viewing from today, because it'd be great to be able to hear from you, and we'll see you come through onto our channels. So once again, add those questions in, add those comments in. Just be aware there's about a 1-minute delay between you hearing us and us being able to see those comments and questions. So do let us know. Today's topic, as we said, is using technology to drive social change. And I want to say why this was the chosen area that we wanted to be able to discuss today. And that's because I don't know if you've ever been through a situation where you've gone, hey, I want to find some fantastic insight from women in the STEM sector. And I want to be able to see, the cutting edge, what their perspectives are on different things. And genuinely, 80 to 90% of the quotes are from women in the STEM sector are about being a woman in the STEM sector. And I go, cool, yep, that's definitely useful insights to be able to have. However, there is so much more that women are bringing to the STEM space. There are incredible insights. And I just feel it's a bit reductive that we keep going into this space going, well, talk about being a woman within the sector, because there's so much more to be able to talk about. And this is why I wanted to be able to put together this fantastic panel today to highlight these amazing women entrepreneurs who are doing incredible stuff within the space and using technology as this driving force for social change, which I think is such an important topic. So we'll go through each person that we've got on our panel today to do an introduction. So I'll say your name, just give us an introduction, what you do, and a little bit more about why this topic is important to you. I'm going to start with Janelle.
Well, good morning, everyone. And first and foremost, happy International Women's Day to all the women out there and the fantastic women on the panel. And Jamie, to the men that support our cause too, and elevating women, especially today. Thank you. We need more men like you in this world as well. Thank you so much. Janelle Shaluhi, I'm a CEO and founder of Venus Ventures, which is essentially a global innovation ecosystem centered around Web3 and emerging tech. And at the core of everything we do is a social good. So our goal is to ensure that there's balance in this world where we're bringing together the right people to do the right things and monetize the right intentions. And we're based in Waterloo, Ontario, which is the birthplace of Ethereum.
So, thank you very much. That's fantastic stuff. And Venus Ventures, in the way that they are empowering women within the Web3 space has been absolutely fantastic to see, and a great cause to kind of be a part of. So if you are a woman who is looking to be able to learn these skills within the Web3 space, definitely reach out to Janelle and check out Venus Ventures. Definitely worth a look. So our next fantastic panelist is Daniela.
Yeesh, I saw that coming, you know? So I'm Daniela. I'm from Colombia, the place where the best coffee is in the world. Huh? um, I'm a positive psychologist, and I've been around emerging technologies for less than a year. It's been like 10 months now. And I'm using generative AI to create positive emotional triggers for my patients. That's the use case that I'm giving to images. With Midjourney, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion kind of resources. And on the other side, beginning my journeys with Thrive, which is meant to be a platform for emotional training and emotional uplifting as courage, confidence, creativity, as we know ourselves better. So I'm an advocate for well-being in a way that we understand it proactively. So we work on it in daily basis. And flourish within a more empathic world. As we're better to ourselves, we're better to others. So yeah, that's me. And thank you, Jamie, for having us here. You've always been great supporter in my journey. Thank you.
One tries. Like, it's once again amazing to hear the what's going on, and I think that Thrive, particularly when we're talking about these kind of subjects at the moment, you couldn't imagine even half of the jobs that we have available now within AI, Metaverse, Web3 spaces existing in the way that they do, and it takes a lot to be at the forefront of those conversations. And also, if you ever go to a party with Daniela, she knows everyone in the room. It's the best person to go to a party. Hey, have you seen who? Have you seen who? So always a great connection. Fantastic. Our next speaker is Elena.
Hi, everyone. Of course, Jamie, thank you for having me. Congratulations to, the women on the panel for the amazing work that they're doing. It's always great to, share the spotlight with everyone. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of NeuroXR. I'm also a neuroscientist and a disabled entrepreneur. So all of this area is very close to my heart. We're currently developing a software platform that combines the power of neuroscience with virtual reality to create emotional heat maps. So helping businesses understand exactly what their users wanted and how they react to anything in 3D and in virtual reality. And obviously the social part is giving access to virtual reality, increasing accessibility and inclusion and DEI. So the work that Jamie and I are doing, and Janelle and everyone else, is very close to my heart, and I think it's changing the world.
Definitely. And what I really love about Elena's project is I see the way that she hotspots virtual worlds is essentially being the click rates of the future. If you're thinking at the moment, you go onto a website, you click on a button and people are measuring those clicks and engagement. Well, you're basically creating the same thing for virtual spaces to go, hey, what's grabbing my attention here? Where are people navigating? Almost more in an architecture way. How do people move around this building? Are they paying attention to the right things? And Elena's a disabled founder. So what I really wanted to do with this panel is find people who at different stages of their career from different parts of the world, really looking at the intersectional nature to be able to make sure we had kind of more of a versatility of people here, because once again, there is so many fantastic women across a vast spectrum of people that are doing fantastic stuff. So hopefully we captured some of that within our small but impressive panel. And finally, but by no means least, Alison, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody, and absolutely a massive International Women's Day to everyone who's listening, everyone who listens in a couple of weeks to this, because everyone will just keep rolling with this. And that's what's so great about having podcasts of this nature, or live shows. Don't know if it's called a podcast, sorry. But,
a little bit of everything.
But I think that's so important. And literally, I love just hearing all the things that I've heard from people. I definitely love, Janine, you're my favourite. In Ontario, it's the place I always love to live. I loved ice skating on the outside Parliament. I've done that, ice skating, so that's cool. And I did watch the interview you did with Elena around her her AI, and that just blew me away. Didn't understand it all, so I'm hoping I learn more and more from her. And Daniela and I'm definitely going to parties because I never know anyone in the room. So I am going to parties with you and Daniela. That's it, especially as we're all in England. So we can actually do that quite easily. But it's great to be here, and it is amazing to be here on this day. And whilst we have so much to celebrate, I also will want to be saying that there's still so far that we've got to come. And that's not to bring a downer on it. I mean, even today, I was just commenting on, we've still got like 28 million women and girls are affected by modern slavery. So it's about both, isn't it? Where are we? Where have we come from? And what do we still need to do? And we are going to achieve that through panels like this. So, but I am Alison Alexander. I am the co-founder of Meta Campus. We are an education and transformation platform, which actually does go live in like 40 minutes. It is literally going live in 40 minutes. And so anyone here, any of you guys, in a couple of weeks, we will give you links so you can have a look. But we are an education platform with the whole purpose of how do we get, I'm going to say it's not every woman, I mean, but from my perspective, every woman, girl into Web3, understanding Web3, and not just gaining knowledge, acquiring knowledge. How do we get them to understand the mindset? And then the word I think that Jamie helped me add the other day is that confidence of the application. So it's the knowledge, the understanding, and the application. So that's what we do in our day job. And I think mainly, all like many here, we talk every day around equity, accessibility, inclusion, and safety. They're my three kind of main mantra words, if I had to say that. So it's great to be here with you all.
Thank you for joining. And I know, deliberately went for the most busy day of your career so far, the day that you're about to launch your platform, and you still made time for us, which is very heartwarming. But thank you so much for that, Alison. And once again, going back to how far things have to come, even going back to the quote example we were saying earlier, is that's not a reflection on women not necessarily having more to be able to say within the STEM sector, but also the opportunities to be able to say it, or the highlight on the words on the work that's being done there. So it almost is very reflective of how far we've still got left to go. I would really recommend, if anyone is kind of looking for resources on these kind of topics, particularly for women in STEM, there's an organization called WISE, which is Women in STEM Education, and their research on basically supporting women into the STEM sector has been stuff that I've been reading probably for the last 7 or 8 years, because they always have the most fantastic insights. So highly recommend it if anyone's looking to learn a bit more about this particular subject. So with introductions out the way, we're going to go into our first question, which is, how has technology helped you to drive social change in your respective fields, and what specific examples can you share?
I'll jump in, Jamie.
Perfect.
So what I would say, and I really want to focus on Web3 personally, because to me, Web3 is that level set for all of us. We always talk about closing that gap. And I've been in the tech sector for a while, we try to inch forward every year and try to close that gap. Whereas Web3 is a chance to reset and actually start where everything is 50-50. We just have to be very intentional about it. We just have to make sure that we're helping women understand what this world is. It's not a massive upskill and reskill. It's actually probably an hour and you can start operating in Web3. That's pretty much what we found in some way, shape, or form. And then you'll have enough of an appetite to look even further. So Web3 as a whole, to me, is a technological, utopia in many ways, where you have a chance to take the systems that we've had built over the last however many years and build new things on new systems that bring balance across the world, that actually helps people monetize globally, and helps small businesses, and obviously enables the individual. So bringing it back to the human being, right? And I think that's what it is. And NFTs, for example, to me, yes, it's a crypto asset, but that's an incredible technology. We don't talk about it as a technology, right? NFTs are our digital ID. There are health cards down the road. There are medical records. There are membership cards. They're pretty much anything that we want on the blockchain to be able to be a member of something, or to be able to interact. That's what NFTs are. So it's not just a crypto asset. It's a technology. And the way we've used, for example, NFTs, and we're using our NFTs to help educate what this world is about. It started off with art, which is kind of how the NFT, if you want to call it revolution, started. It was all about art initially, which a lot of the historical revolutions had some sort of art revolution as well. And then it became, which is what we started. Our NFTs started as pure art. It is pure art, and to the point where we have an open licensing agreement so that any of our token holders can actually use that to create merch if they want to, or create AIs. So we have, that, but we also have protected our IP, and we've had our NFTs validated. So it's ready for a Sotheby's or a Christie's. So we started there. But now what they've evolved into the membership card into our digital incubator, our global digital incubator. So this is an example of technology. And what we want to do is continuously showcase all the social good and all the good that can happen from this technology. Now, where Web3 to me, and then I'll hand it over, where Web3 to me enables not only women across the world, not only human beings across the world, the marginalized and disabled who've never really had a chance really at life, and in many ways, however we want to slice it. This is their opportunity within the metaverse, for example, to have a whole new breath of life. Whether it's what I would love to see this technology be used for is if somebody who hypothetically has been paralyzed and hasn't been able to walk, they have a metaverse experience that takes them across the world where they are allowed to have a great experience in this space. Well, that's the other thing. We have to make sure that it's regulated enough so that we can allow them to have a great experience in this space. But again, it's a whole new world of opportunity they've never had. I would love to give the blind some sort of vision in the metaverse, and that will come, or anything to that effect. Any of the marginalized and disabled in the past who haven't ever had a chance. That to me is the beauty of Web3 and all the technologies within Web3. And I will hand it over.
I think so many great points there, and particularly when we're looking at that marginalized communities as well, being able to participate through accessible and inclusive practices, even when it comes down to using VR as potentially a tool for diversity, equity, and inclusion to get people to understand microaggressions. What's it like to experience that? How can we give people an emotional reaction to what's going on in order to be able to do an educational aspect? So fantastic from that point. I want to hand over to next guest, Daniela. I can see you're up.
Yeah. As I was here, Janelle speaking, I was thinking of how has it helped me as Latin American and non-techie person that still found a place, and at the same time how I'm placing that into service for others. So I've always felt like, since when I chose to change my career industry to emerging technologies, I knew one of the challenges that I was going to have is not being tech backed and not being an artist and not being a finance person, which was where I was seeing that were the use cases of blockchain a year ago, and NFTs. But what I found was that because it's built by the same people, fortunately, there's space for everyone. And mostly because it's community based, I found that everyone has a chance to gain a voice, to rebuild themselves, to try out, fail, and come back and tell the story. And that's thanks to the technology and a very emotional side of it, on how it helped me to rebuild a own sense of my intellectual and creative capacities. Because sometimes we are educated on there's one way of being creative, there's one way of being smart, there's one way of XYZ. And fortunately, Web3 gave me the space of reconsidering that for myself and being curious. So I never thought of myself as someone creative or visually creative, but thanks to generative AI and the openness of the people of emerging technologies to want to make them every day more accessible for non-techie users like me, that we can still learn how to create with them. I got to learn, and how I'm using that and placing that into service for driving social change is that I believe that a more empathic world and the social change will be better if we all learn what works for us to feel more belonging to ourselves, to feel more confident, to feel more courageous and to put ourselves out there on what we believe, indistinct of the results, but because of the journey. And that is something that is very, very hard to give to someone because it takes a lot to train. It's a very long emotional training to feel comfortable with the uncomfort of moving through courage, if that makes sense. And all of this to say that I started exploring with the generative AI images and active imagination and meditation with my patients, because I wanted to build for them a space where they could feel and remember how that courage and confidence and belonging or peacefulness feels for them in their unique way, how that looks like. And I would be the tool in service to guide them through the meditation and take them into that emotional state where I think change is driven. But building for them an image that would become that emotional memory. So as it happens to most of us, sometimes that we watch a movie and something special happens, and then we watch it again and we remember how that feels, or in specific places or smells. That's emotional memory. So I wanted to create that for my patients. Unfortunately, when I got then I started receiving their feedback because they started placing it in their screensavers of their phone or in the backgrounds of their Zoom calls and using it, printing them in their rooms and using it to remember how that feels. So 90% of them, like out of 30, if I recall well, they were saying that they felt more emotional uplifted, and they would use it when something hard came in means of a difficult conversation. They were just getting into a meeting, something important was happening that they were not sure how to handle it, to remember how that feels. So that's a very, very specific use case of how it has helped me and how I'm trying to drive change from building more awareness on the importance of courage, confidence, and that emotional training.
Amazing. It's a really great example. And what you were talking about it's really important that we don't ring fence this to go this tech evolution and revolution is all about being really good with technology. I always think to my idol, which is Ken Robinson, whose birthday would have been a couple of days ago, who said, human communities depend on a diversity of talent, not a single conception of ability. The heart of our challenge is to reconstitute that sense of ability and what it means to be human. Slightly misquoted, but close enough for government work, as my dad would say. So I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, how can technology be used to promote social change in underrepresented and marginalized communities? And what role can women play in leading these efforts? Alison, I'm going to go to you first.
In so many ways. And we have kind of heard about those two. So what I would say is everything that we've just heard, whilst we've heard about how it's been used, that can also be the next step going forward. So it's really important that we're kind of remembering all of that. I think it can empower women. I think the use of the creation of digital assets in terms of, with that, passports, driving licenses, qualifications, by converting all of those, having the means to convert them into digital assets, keeping them in digital wallets, generally empowers women. It means that you hold your identity and you hold your assets. And if you wish to change what you're doing and where you live, you actually can carry them with you. So I think it does remove from those women who live in difficult circumstances or abusive environments, even those women affected by modern day slavery. If we had that from birth implemented, actually it could help to curtail some of that. Yeah, I'm not going to say eradicate it, but it could actually put more blocks in the way. But if I was a woman who was living in an abusive relationship and I wanted to leave, sometimes what stops people, and I say this from a position of working in that field for a long time, that they don't own the things and therefore they stay because they don't know. I think we need to absolutely promote the value of digital assets and how that can empower women to do that. And I think therefore that is all women. It's women like of color, women with different abilities. It's every woman who can do that. And I know that that's something that can be gained for all genders, but I really want us to start to focus on how it can help those people. It will also help all of the unbanked. Imagine like all of the unbanked, immediately you're able to bring them into this world, making transactions peer on peer, being able to actually engage with people in a different way. And I think one of the things I want to say, I'm going to say particularly from a UK perspective, we need to be mindful of, is that people from countries who are unbanked at the moment are going to make a quantum leap over many of those countries who have everybody who is banked, because they're going to adopt the new ways of working. They're not coming at this from a position of fear. So all those marginalized communities and countries, we are going to see them leapfrog, and those children are going to be they are going to supersede our children in their ability to use technology and work with technology, because they're not coming at it from a position of fear and unknown. They're coming at it as a approach of, this is how we live our life, and this enables me to have a better life. So I think I know that's just one particular area, but I think the metaverse will enable us to start to remove bias in so many ways. But I'm going to leave it there.
Perfect. Really important factors, I think, when we're looking at economic freedom, really, and me and Daniela have spoken about this quite a lot in the past, is people are marginalized a lot of the time because of centralized institutions. It is the fact of going to a job interview is your ability to pass as middle class and neurotypical, and that's why you've got 68% of the autistic population are unemployed, 26% of the dyslexic population unemployed, because there is a centralization aspect that comes into creating that marginalized effect. So it doesn't surprise me with what you're saying around kind of people who are looking at being able to establish in these new technologies from the developing world, being able to take those steps ahead. And this is where, once again, we make sure it's important to design things with accessibility in mind, because mobile phones are most used within developing countries. Most people do have a mobile phone across the world. So fantastic opportunities here to support communities that wouldn't necessarily have always had those opportunities. I'd like to go to Elena as well and see if you've got anything you'd like to add on this subject.
Yeah, I think it's really basic to say that representation, I think, is also incredibly important when it comes to emerging technologies. Like Daniela, I come from an academic background. I had no business expertise when I started the company. I went in blind, and I worked really hard over the past 3 years to build the technology. But seeing people from academic backgrounds developing deep tech and going into the commercial space, I think it minimized that fear for myself, and knowing that I can introduce something that I'm really passionate about and introduce it commercially. And I think seeing more and more companies that are working in neurotech or academic tech, I think it's really important to showcase not only to other people in the industries, but also students. There's so many student entrepreneurs that are now developing technologies. There's still not a lot of representation and, access to equity financing because of that age. I think it's very vital to bring in that representation. And in terms of, what role women can play in this, I think we're doing a great job to begin with. There's always that question of what can we do as women? We're already doing so many good things. And I think we use a lot of the bias and the representation and the challenges that we see day to day of being in the tech industry and having a team of just males and being, not as represented. I think it's very important to use those challenges, use the difficulties that we've been through, and build upon that and actually solve any, social issues. And I think that's why I think women focus more than men when it comes to social challenges, because of our psychology. We are more nurturing. We want to solve big societal issues. And that's why I think women are doing a great job by tackling all of those challenges, mainly because, like Alison said, I'm an immigrant. I come from a different background. I see it from a perspective. So when I enter this new technology, a new country, a new way, I see it differently. So I think it's really interesting to see other women's perspectives, how their challenges have affected them and how they're actually building something good.
The intersectional nature of this conversation is so important, and I think you've highlighted it perfectly there. I can see we've got some more comments here. So Janelle, do you want to be able to add to that as well?
Yeah, sure. Elena, you hit an awesome point. So what we have to be very mindful of, because again, for me, Web3, for all of us, Web3 is a very global movement. The most important thing to have within a global movement is multiple perspectives. So the cognitive diversity is an incredibly important aspect for us to build the right kind of future, not just for us, but for our children and for generations to come. And to Elena's point, you know, it's just the nature of who we are and how we think. Women tend to think for collectives. This is a collective movement, which is why we need more female entrepreneurs. We need more mothers in this space too, because I don't know very many mothers that would want their children to go to war. So I don't know very many people that would want their children to go to war. But this is where we have the ability to affect the systems the way they are right now and the way we want them to be moving forward. So cognitive diversity is such an incredible aspect of any tech sector, but especially a new movement that's a global movement.
I love this whole aspect of cognitive diversity because it always reminds me of a particular cartoon image where there's a guy at the front of the room surrounded by a boardroom of other guys that look exactly the same, and he's pointing at the board behind him going, "Why don't we have any fresh ideas around here?" And this whole idea of going, "Yeah, come on, if you need to be able to solve these challenges, you need people who have faced a range of lived experiences to be able to kind of think about the different dynamics of it, to be able to explore how we can support in a much more holistic way." I always talk about the idea of, you know, if we design with the extremes in mind, we benefit the mean population because we can all benefit from features and purposes that were designed for accommodating a wider group of people. I'm going to go to Daniela as well because I think you'll have something interesting to be able to add on this one.
Yeah, like as I was hearing them speak, I felt very, very grateful to be in this conversation because it brings me back to my essence, to why I wanted to give a twist in my life to emerging technologies and Web3. And there's two very important things that I wanted to highlight from what Alison was saying. The why people in emerging countries come to this type of technology is, yes, out of curiosity, but because they're really wanting to solve something that is heavily affecting them. So they will learn fast to solve that. And for example, in my case, it became a lot about finding answers for my financial circumstances in life and the change that is because of where I'm born versus where I'd like to grow, which is Colombia versus London in that case when I started back then. And I'm still very privileged that I do speak English. I can learn these things. And the more I get into the Latin American community that is growing Web3 and that is building in this space, the more I feel blessed because they're all thinking of solving something that can help not just their country, but the whole Latin American. It's very beautiful to see them not building for Colombia or Peru or Venezuela or Brazil, but they're all thinking LATAM. And that's beautiful to experience and to understand of what Alison was saying. Definitely this technology can bring these countries into a whole new level of interacting with the world. And I wanted to just add to Elena that I really appreciate what she mentioned about the education and her still building a company. And I this is something that I felt specifically in my experience in Web3, and is behind every woman, there's a tribe of other women pushing with her. In my case, fortunately, I've had great men and women helping me feel courageous enough to go that road. But a lot of white people don't try it out and go and learn what is on their state and team up with people that might not be like to grow together according to the impact that we want to build. It's because of fear. So thank you so much for highlighting that as part of going towards a dream. I think when you place it this way, it feels close. And there's many people that when they hear it, it feels very far from them, and like, yeah, that's their story, that's not my story. But when you hear in this way, in this context, it feels close, and it feels like more people could jump in and move forward, learning, creativity, and trust within their dreams. So I want to say thank you for that.
Amazing points. Thank you all so much for your answers on that question. And it was interesting, hearing about that. There was someone who came to mind who I feel I deserve to give a special mention to today, which is Samantha Robertson, who was my senior head when I was at the Trust and working on STEM, because she was the person who really mentored me in being able to not just understand STEM, but understand how to communicate it, how to understand a variety of different audiences, and mentored me for even 3 years after I left the company. And still reply to a message where I go, Sam, how do I do this? But there's a huge opportunity here for females mentoring. And I think obviously women mentoring women is a hugely important factor, but also sharing those perspectives with the guys out there as well, because ultimately we need to be able to have some of that information to go, how can we make sure we are designing these things more inclusive? How can we make sure that we're supporting that? And Sam comes to mind because I think obviously a lot of her influence has shaped what I've gone on to do since then. So, definitely a shout out to her on this moment as well. Which leads me quite nicely onto our next question, which is, what advice would you give to people who are interested in pursuing a career in technology and using it to create a positive social impact? Who would like to go first? Alison, Elena, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, just start on something. It really is as easy as that. You don't need to have it figured out. I don't. I mean, most people don't. Still, you work on a technology for 5-10 years and you still don't have every single aspect figured out, and that's more than okay. If you make that first step, which I know it's probably the hardest step to make, that will give you some push to do something. I think just starting, do your research, get those juices flowing. If you're really passionate about something, then you find a motivation to keep going even when things go wrong, get really rough on the way, and that's perfectly fine. And I think if you find a problem or a gap in a market, or gap in a problem, I think that will really give you an edge as a company. Positive social impact can come from so many different areas, but in order to make it into a good, successful company, really finding that problem and that solution, and that's exactly what gives you an edge. And making a network, asking for advice, it does not cost you anything to message people on LinkedIn and ask for advice and for help. That's how I started my company. That's how I got most of my clients, literally just asking for help. And especially what I love about this community and Metaverse and the virtual reality space is that people are willing to help out. This is really new. It's built on that community sense and wanting to solve this big problem together. And I think it's really easy to just ask someone for some advice, grab a coffee, and that's how you get started. That's how you find a partner, found a co-founder. That's literally how to get things started. And that's, I'm pretty sure, how I met all of you, by just messaging on LinkedIn. And it's literally as easy as that. Obviously, there are a lot of hard steps along the way, and you need to be very determined, especially when it comes to that social aspect, because when you don't really have that monetary side added to it, that's when a lot of people lose interest, because it doesn't bring them the capital. But we're solving bigger issues here. And if you maintain that determination and that passion, and you have people around you to help you grow, I think that's a recipe for success.
Fantastic answer. Alison, I'll come to you and say just one little thing I wanted to be able to add as well is there's just building off what Elena said, there's John Scott and Sharad often say they're people who work at MetaShapers, which is a community that we're all a part of, often say there's no experts in a space. And I fundamentally disagree a little bit, where I go, it doesn't take a lot to be an expert in a space where everything's new. Okay, like it doesn't take a lot to know more than the next person when very few people are knowledgeable on it. So great opportunity. If you get started, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of someone who's just coming into the space. Alison, what would you like to add on this one?
Okay, obviously support everything and agree with what Elena has said and with yourself, what you said. But I would add a few other quick ones. And Daniela's going to smile because she knows what I'm going to say, actually. I am going to say, be you. Show up as you and be totally you, whether that's with the people you're talking to as potential investors, whether that's just reaching out to people to tell them your idea, whether that's talking to the people that you're going to recruit, or whether it's the people that you're going to partner with in a way that you're going to jump on them. So I really mean just be you, because that is the one thing that will carry. You don't have to, if you're not the academic one, don't try and be. If you're not a doer, don't try and be that. Be who you are and bring yourself to the party. And I think that for me is really important. Be you, be yourself. Don't recruit yourself, especially if you are recruiting a team. The most important thing, especially if there's only 2 or 3 of you, recruit the opposite, because innovators, they're sometimes not great organizers, as organizers are sometimes not great innovator. And I'm being really general here, so we can all be everything. I'd like to know I'm an innovator, I'm an organizer, but literally, if you are out there as an innovator, you don't want 2 or 3 like that. You want someone who's going to actually deliver or make or help you put it in. So always recruit the opposite to you, and be really comfortable asking for help and showing what you're confused about, where you feel that you don't know the answer, and jump on other people's back. Use other people, and that's not climbing over them, that is climbing on top of their shoulders and reaching up. Because you will then let somebody stand on your shoulders to reach up over the fence and to hear and grab hold of other people's hands, because sometimes they feel out of reach if you don't have that buddy to stand on their shoulders. So they're my kind of takes.
Love that. Standing on the shoulders of giants is definitely what the tech sector is all about, and really what society is all about. We're only here in the way that we are with the advancements that we have because we can all stand on the shoulders of giants. And I love your aspects of definitely getting it. Once again, goes back to cognitive diversity that Janelle was saying, getting people that have that opposite bit, because I love a conversation with all these ideators and stuff like that. But you know who I really like? The doers. Someone who's going to get stuff done. Okay, someone who's going to send over a spreadsheet or put something in the calendar, because I can talk all day about ideas and people love it. It's such an energizing part. But who's actually going to go? We've sent that email out. So great points. Any more? Daniela, go for it.
I had to talk after what she said.
No, go for it.
So the story of that, the story of that is Alison was one of my first virtual coffees 10 months ago when I started. And I started reaching out to people like, hey, I like your story. I want to learn from it to see how can I enter into the technology world. And that's exactly what she said to me. And thanks to that advice, I've said it so many times as well out of gratitude, because one of the challenges that I've encountered, and it comes back to what you were saying as well, is there's so much going on so fast for someone that is not used to change that fast, which was me, that it kind of backfired in 2 ways. One, I had 300,000 ideas in my mind of everything that I wanted to do because everything seemed so great, and so reduced time to actually do it, that my advice would be, because of that experience, I had to take a break and I had to go back to my story, to go back to my purpose, and to go back to something that has helped me and my family before, so I can expand that to others and actually use technology as a tool more than feeling overexcited or overwhelmed of the amazing 300,000 possibilities that I was listening about and looking out there. So there would be first advice. Always bear in mind technology is a tool. Technology will keep evolving and it's fast. So go back to your story as much as you need to keep your positive social impact attached to that one higher purpose goal. Because there's thousands of problems in the world, but we need to focus as much as we can in the one that moves our souls genuinely the most. Because when hard times comes, that's the one that will makes us push and be more creative on it. And the second one is that and it's all about my mistakes, really. Don't rush it at the pace of the technology. So be okay for not knowing, and be okay with asking for help, as they say. Ask questions and teaming up with others that might know better of how other perspectives, listening with care and compassion. There, I don't know if that's something that is usual, but it's something that I've encountered, and is a lot of external expectations, and a lot of opinions, thoughts, suggestions, within the best intention always. And I feel that learning how to be self-compassionate, of giving me the space to understand all of that and filter that and use it for good, or ask my mentors a bit about those steps, have definitely helped me to move within a career in the technology space, um, with that sense of giving space for purpose, emotions, and kind of like pacing it down when needed. And it's okay, it'll still be here. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Love it. That sense of authenticity, and being oneself within the space, and you can, people by people, at the end of the day, you might as well show up as yourself within that space to be able to do so. Janelle, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I think this is an important one for all of us to contribute to. So, to Elena's point, fear is the thing that always holds us back from doing the most amazing things. If you're curious, jump in. Where do you start? I started in 2021. I was one of the earlier adopters of this space of Web3. There was no YouTube video. There were no TikTok videos. There was nothing online. You couldn't really research it. So what I did was I actually jumped in, and when I wanted to try and understand what NFTs were and how they worked, I actually jumped in and created my own collection, not our Women of Venusverse collection, my own collection under my own wallet, just to understand the technology. So I come from a background in art. I figured, you know what, if I want other people and other women especially to understand this world, I have to be able to learn it and do it myself. So that's just to give you an example of where this space was back then. There was nothing out there. You just had to learn how to do it. So don't be afraid. Please jump in if you're curious about this world. Where you start Googling Web3. What is Web3? How you can get involved in Web3. Definitely come, please email me, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about what we're doing at Venus Ventures. And to other points, so Allison hit on this, so did Daniela. Surround yourself with the right people, your tribe. Don't forget who your tribe are, right? The people who support you, the people who back you. There will be people who will not be supportive of you. There will be people who will not want you to do this. And I have been one of those people that had somebody try, or people try to get in my way. You need to surround yourself with the right human beings, men, women, other, whichever, just so that not only are you all learning from each other, you're doing this together, right? So you're moving into this together, which is also important. And then the last piece I would absolutely say is Web3 as a whole, like we have to think about this, is a chance to do things differently. We're very conditioned to do things a certain way in our world right now. What we need to do is break a lot of those conditioning. A lot of that conditioning needs to be broken, and we need to start thinking about how are we building for the better, for the greater good. And where does that start? With yourself. You need to put your own oxygen mask on, right? So to Allison and Daniela's point, it always starts with us and our purpose and what we want to do. And I use a statistic, which is a staggering statistic from a number of fronts. So as human beings, all of us on this panel, we're 99.9% the same, our DNA, okay? Think about that statistic on a global scale. 99.9% of humans their DNAs are exactly the same. Only 0.1% of our DNA is different. And what I always say is that's where your purpose lies. That's what you were sent here to do. That's what you're here on earth to do. You need to figure out what that purpose is, what it is that drives you, what it is that makes you happy. You start there and you build for the greater good. And you break all the conditioning, all the normalities that we talk about right now. Now's a chance to actually do it differently. So we got to do it differently. And so I put out a challenge to all of us to start thinking this way in Web3. And we should all be mobilizing and doing this. So that is my 2 cents on that.
And it was a fantastic 2 cents as well. Cool. So we're going to come to the last question in a minute. But if anyone has any comments, questions they want to be able to add, now is your opportunity to do so. We'll do our best to see if we can get through some at the end if there's anything to be able to cover. If not, that's not a problem as well. But I've wanted to make sure I created enough time and space to be able to do this question, because I think it's quite an important one, which is, how do you envision the future of technology-driven social change, and what role do you see in women? What role do you see women in shaping this future? Who wants to start?
I can jump in. I mean, I think we've touched upon this in many different ways, you know, and the future is, you know, the future of technology, it has to start with social change. That's where it has to start. And then you layer on the technology on top of it. So the idea is that this is a social movement, a global movement, where hopefully all humans are going to be able to operate and work globally in an equal manner, in a much more equalized manner, much more balanced manner. So it has to start with that. That's what we have to approach everything thinking about, whether it's a metaverse, whether it's the blockchain, whether it's NFTs. It doesn't matter what kind of technology you're trying to build on within Web3. You have to start with the social good, because we are trying to build for the better. And this is a chance in human history where we actually have the good actors can get ahead big time. We just got to go. And like with every startup, this movement's like a startup. With every startup, you have to accelerate. So you just have to keep going and going and building, and keep building with the right people. Similar to Elena, it's not about funding for me, for example. So I haven't given 1% of my company away yet. I haven't taken 1% or any kind of funding right now. I'm actually going out for federal funding from our Canadian government, because we have tax dollars towards it. So I'm actually going that route first. But I've been building for over a year through partnerships. Jamie and Elena are perfect examples of this. And we're going to do some awesome things together. But this is how we have to start thinking collectively, and start with the social good and layer on the technology onto that social good. That's where we have to start.
Fantastic. Alison, go next.
I mean, I think we have touched on it, as has been said already in a lot of the questions. This kind of folds them all together. I think I would, whenever I talk to people about what Web3 is, or I like to say now more like the new iteration of the internet, because I think Web3 makes people go, oh, what is this? Yeah. And they look for something. Yeah. But it's the next iteration. I always like to say it's around a technology change and a cultural change. So it's both that technology and cultural revolution. So whether you like the word revolution, and some people don't, that's not helpful to use, but changes, yeah. And I think it's really important that we talk about that. So I think if we can get that into everyone's head, any gender, that's how we're all talking. This is not just about a new set of tools. This is about society operating differently. And that's why, so when we talk about all of us offer training, courses, help, support, that's what all of us focus on. The tools you can read about, but actually you need to get your mindset into a different way of thinking. And that's the important bit. And the thing that I think, like the future, like how women are impacting on this, I think, as also was said, that women will often come at it from that position of disadvantage. Yeah, like we would have known our own disadvantage. I'm a woman of 54, and I know all of those years we've looked at different disadvantage all the time. And so I will always come at it as, how can I change that? And I'll look at all the different needs that I had as a mum, as a working mum, all of those different things. So we will, I think women, we look at things more laterally. And I also think we generally look at things more creatively and more innovatively. And I think that's what we will keep bringing to this world.
Fantastic. You know, once again, that sense of people that have gone through adversity know the barriers, the systemic challenges that are in place, and therefore how can technology erode some of those challenges that are faced by people, which is really, really important to be able to look at. Daniela, I'm going to come to you next.
Yeah, I was thinking of two specific things of how I see this future technology driven going, and is one, well-being wise, I hope it is this way, and is building more tools that are proactive, that are not cleanup tools on you're not feeling well, can we help? Yes, those are useful, but are tools that are helping us go from 0 to +6 and keeping our emotional training and self-awareness. Responding to us as as Elena's projects, like it responds to us, it helps us learn from ourselves. So definitely that's one way I feel this progressing in the future for the future of well-being. And I was thinking also a technology, and I think maybe this comes from, I don't know, maybe I'm going to say something that might not be as everyone thinks, but I think because women are more, we have like this sense of over caring, over loving, and really wanting like a global impact, or like a group impact with what we do. I feel that technology will be seen more, as Alison was saying, as ways of making a better society, more than, and will be built without asking that much of ourselves in interaction to actually receive its benefits. And that was one of the like unhealthy habits that I found in Web3 when I recently joined. And it was like Web3 doesn't sleep, and it was like, people, we have to build a technology world where we can all sleep, we can all have healthy habits, and build it for that, and team up in the world so things keep rolling and happening, but with mental health and well-being first. So I think technology hopefully will still be moving forward in a way that is thinking of changing those people interactions first, and benefiting us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Elena, I want to make sure we've got time to hear from you on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has really, encapsulated all of the points that I also wanted to make. But I think in terms of social change, it will develop as quickly as novel technology. I think so many companies are now focusing on that, and there's so much change from sustainability, DEI, so many different areas that are being, worked on, that now the wider community, the wider population is seeing the actual value. Before with technology was how much money does it bring? What's the ROI? How much value does it bring from a financial point? Now with, seeing a lot of big companies with just social change be really successful and really help the wider community, they really see that value past the financial side, and seeing that so many communities are benefiting, the society is changing for the better. And I think these sort of technologies are now being developed as quickly as, the day-to-day commercial technology. I think, the role of women, I think from funding, seeing more women VCs, I think that's really important for, underrepresented founders who really struggle to get funding. I struggled myself, and it was really hard to just break that barrier. And just seeing, women from, like on this panel, from so many different areas, tackling so many different changes, I think is really empowering for other women who want to start in this new sector but don't really know where to start. Seeing that representation, I think, is really important. And I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see so many more companies trying to tackle these changes.
Amazing. I don't want to add anything to what you guys have said there. But I think there's a huge value in what we've spoken about today. There is, lots of opportunity there. I just want to go, before we wrap up, just one final sentence for everyone to say, one thing that they love about this and why people should get involved. Just one sentence. And literally we'll start with Alison, then go to Daniela, then go to Janelle, then go to Elena.
Because we have an opportunity to change how we live and enable people to be free.
Fantastic. Daniela.
Oh my God, that was so powerful. I think what I'd like to say is be patient and be compassionate to yourself as you go through the career and learn.
Amazing. Janelle.
I would say because Web3 is an opportunity for us all to be able to move forward in a very different way than we ever have before on new systems.
Amazing. And Elena.
Because we can, and we have, so much accessibility nowadays, so much access to information. We have a great community, and it's so new that right now, just by starting and doing something, it's already fresh, and the innovation is there. So we have the access. Let's just do it.
I love all of your contributions. I know some people have got to drop off, so just before that happens, round of applause for everyone on the panel today, because I thought you've been amazing, and it's been fantastic to spend this hour with you. If you need to drop off now, more than happy. I'm going to do just a quick wrap up here. So for anyone who hasn't seen us before and wants to learn more about Web3, the Metaverse and AI, please join our community at distributedrepublic.xyz. It's a free to join community. We have loads of resources, educational content. The whole point is to try and make it as accessible as possible. So thank you so much. Daniela, thank you for joining. I know you've got to be able to jump off as well. If you're interested at all and you want to be able to support this webcast, you can sponsor us at www.stan.store/Jamie Beekov Brett and see your name on the little ticker tape at the bottom. And if anyone's interested in these technologies and wants to learn more, you've seen some fantastic panelists today. You can reach out to them directly. But also, if you want workshops, content for us to be able to help support your organization to implement these technologies, then do reach out to me and we will definitely be able to support. But once again, thank you so much, Elaine and Janelle, for joining us, and we'll catch you very soon.
Thank you, Jamie, and happy International Women's Day again, everybody.
Happy International Women's Day.